Hey YouTubers, welcome back to Pro Wrenching. Today I'm working on my Minn Kota Edge trolling motor, 70 pound thrust, 24 volt. It is mounted to the front of my Ranger 330V boat, and I've done some previous work on this trolling motor. I replaced the shaft that got torn up, and I've done a couple other little things to it. And today I'm going to install a new base plate. I ordered this from Minn Kota. And I like going to the website. Seems like they've got some pretty reasonable, good deals, and I like their shipping. We've got a good process. And anyways, on this base, it's got a couple of bolts here where it hinges, and the bolt on this side, the threads were ruined, and it is an aluminum housing. I tried actually put a helicoil in there that worked for a while, but eventually it came out, and so after some thinking about it, I decided the best solution is just to get a new base plate, which I got ordered in. And so today I'm going to get started and get this changed out. So here we go. First thing I'm going to do is take off this old trolling motor here, and they've got it set up where you can remove it pretty easy, get it out of the way. We're just going to loosen up this clamp so we can slide the trolling motor off, and we're just going to set it back further in the boat for now, just to get it out of the way, along with the foot pedal, also the cord. And on this trolling motor, it's got this front plastic cover, and it's got some screws here. We're going to go ahead and get those taken out. And now, we'll work on getting that pulled out. Those screws were kind of sticking down in there, so we'll just kind of dump them out. All right, there we go. We'll set that out of the way for now too. And now we're kind of down to the base, and we've got some mounting screws, and to get to the nuts on the bottom side, we've got to take this front plate off. Okay, now I need to take the upper portion off of the base, and I'm going to go ahead and do that while it's still mounted to the boat. And like I said, there's a couple of bolts that hold this part of the arm, and then there's a pin that holds this part of the arm in here. And so I've got one bolt here that's still holding this portion on. We'll take that one out here in a second, and then first I'm going to drive this pin out and then unbolt that, and then we'll be ready to go. All right, now we'll just go ahead. We've got to still drive this out a little bit so we can put it in the new base. There is a shoulder bolt on this side. I'm just going to go ahead and get that removed. All right, now here is the shoulder bolt. As you can see, now it's got a special little shoulder on it, and it's at a certain exact length. So that's one reason that this has to be very exact, because you need to have a bolt like that in position. So if you were going to try to ream that out and put a bigger bolt in, you'd have to get another one of these shoulder bolts that had bigger threads. So with all that, it was just easier to replace this base. And now we'll take the upper portion out of the way, put it right here. So we're now down to just the base, and we'll go ahead and hammer this pin back out of the way. All right, and here as you can see, there's that knurled edge, and this is what holds it in the aluminum. You've only got it on one side, so if you can look at it and tell which side your knurled edge is, you want to drive it out, so that way you only have to drive that edge out one way and not through both sides. And now we've got the base mounted here, so we'll just go ahead and get that removed. Not sure what size the wrench was. Let's see if it feels like about a 7/16. So we'll just take a little break and I'll grab a wrench. I've got the number 3 Phillips head bit, and this fits in our stainless steel screws. It has a number 3 head bit, and if you have that size, and if you'll notice, it's got the fat tip on the end, so you want to make sure to use that. If you're using a smaller one, you're very likely just to strip that out and make your job a lot more difficult. All right, we got the first bolt out. Had a little difficulty. As you can see, it snapped the head off. That just goes to show you how much torque and power we have between the rigid gun and that number 3 tip. So hopefully the other ones go a little smoother, but at least it's out of there where I didn't have to drill it. I got the final bolt out and it snapped off as well. So I guess that stainless steel, even though it didn't rust or corrode, it just had been in there and had enough force put on it there that the threads got messed up. So it was a little difficult to get them out, but we are all out. We'll just have to go with some new hardware, getting it remounted. So let's remove our old plate. Okay, got the old plate off, and then there's also another pin that we'll have to transfer to the new plate. As you can see, here's the new side plate side by side. All right, I just got back from the store and I picked up my mounting hardware, stainless steel 1/4x20 bolts and fasteners, and I also found this bushing. Now the pin to hold this together is 3/8, and so this copper bushing fits that pin. And why that's important is there's a little plastic bushing that goes through here, and one of them's still there, but one of them was worn out and missing, and this will fit in that slot. I'm sure you can get those from Minn Kota, but time's an issue. I don't want to be waiting for that. So I went ahead and this is a 1/2 inch on the exterior, which is a little larger than the plastic bushing. So I just went ahead and used the 1/2 inch drill, drilled it out, and I'm going to hold it in place and hammer it in there. And to hold that, I'm going to use some bearing retainer. That's what you can use to hold different bearings and bushings in place. So we're going to coat that on the outside of this, and then that'll make sure that once I get it hammered in there, it'll stay there. It's not going to be going anywhere. So we'll just get that here. Grab my hammer. Still got to be able to get this yoke through there and fit. Once I've done that, now I need to trim this excess off, and to do that I'm going to use my Dremel tool. It's got this little cutoff wheel. I'm just going to use that just to cut off the excess. Put on my safety glasses. All right, now we got our new bushing in there, which is brass. That'll outlast that plastic, and we've got that bearing retainer on there to hold that into position. All right, now I need to install a pin in the new base like this one has. I happen to have an extra pin, so I'm going to get that installed, and then we're just going to hammer it down, and then that knurled edge will hold it into position. Okay, now we're back over here at the boat. We're installing the base. I'm installing the 1/4 by 20 stainless steel screws and nuts that I just picked up from the store. I'm also going to use some fender washers that I had laying around from a previous project. But you can also find those are readily available. You want to put those underneath just to help reinforce and hold that motor in position. So we're going to get started. We've got the rest of the screws there in position. And it's the number 3 screw, so you want to use that number 3 bit so you don't strip it out. Got one down. And we'll go put another one on there. This is where you got to have an excellent reach. Just reach this last one here. Not sure if I can reach it or not. Our nut and washer. We're going to see if we just can't tape it to the wrench. We'll try a double process because we've got a first we'll tape that smaller washer there to the bigger one. We'll go ahead. Poke a hole through that. Yay. Then we'll tape our nut to the bolt, to the washer. Okay. All right, I've got the base plate mounted up. My little trick with using some tape on the end of the washers and the nut worked. I was able to get that run down and tightened up and then just finish securing everything down. Now I'm going to finish working on the upper portion and get it installed. All right, now that I've got this started, got this pin that's going to hold this portion in, and then we've got our yoke. We're going to need to install that into position. Okay, now we're going to start tapping our pin into position, trying to keep everything lined up here. And I'm going to put down a paper towel, and I'm going to use a little bit of this bearing retainer fluid on the end of this knurl just to help hold everything into position nice and tight once we get it pounded in. It's not really necessary if you've got a new one with the new knurls, but you could use some Loctite or something similar just to help hold that into position. Right. Now that is on there. So now we've got that done. Just check how everything goes there. And we've got our new shoulder bolts that we're going to get installed. That is just sticking out just a little bit. The new aluminum base is tight. Right, now where's our shoulder bolts? All right, now I'm going to put some of that Loctite on these shoulder bolts. All right. We don't want to go too tight because it's aluminum, but we want to make sure to get it nice and snug. All right, we've got that portion on. So now we're ready to put our base back on and then mount our trolling motor. Now these are running in kind of hard. You have to tap the new threads in with the screws on this portion as you go. Oh. Well, looks like we found one critical piece that we forgot here, our strap for our Velcro for the trolling motor. So I'm just going to take these fasteners off and redo that portion. So you don't want to forget that part when you're doing that. But other than that, we're ready to mount the trolling motor up, and we're finished with the base install. All right, now we're ready to put our base plate back in. All right, so we've got the base plate mounted, we've got the upper portion attached, so now we're ready to reinstall the trolling motor. So, we've got it sitting over here in the boat, just waiting to be put back to where it belongs. Get it right here. All right, much better. So we got it all put back together, and it's a nice tight solid fit. Before, I had that bolt wallered out and the mounting hole was stripped out, and so the trolling motor was was weak and wasn't sturdy. I got that new base in there secured with some new shoulder bolts, so we're ready to go. Well, that's it. It's all back together. I'm looking forward to trying it out on the water. Be sure to check out some of my other trolling motor videos. If you've got some repairs to be done, you might find what you're looking for.